And in our big story, former President Donald Trump defiant after returning to court in his criminal hush money case in New York. The judge setting an April 15th start date for the trial, which will be the first among the former president's criminal cases. Now, this one involves charges that he falsified business records surrounding secret payments to porn star Stormy Daniels in the lead up to the 2016 election. And Trump has pleaded not guilty. But then also today, he told our investigative reporter Olivia Rubin he does plan to testify.
I mean, to think they want to go after a company, this is a great company, a company that's doing very well. I've got very low debt on buildings, like this building. I have very low debt on this building.
Trump also got a potential financial lifeline today in the collection of his nearly $500 million civil fraud judgment in New York appeals court, lowering his bond to $175 million. So for more on this, I want to bring in our former executive vice president for the Trump Organization, Barbara Yes, to talk about some of this. So thank you so much for being here with us. And let's first talk about the civil fraud case, Barbara. So the bond was just lowered, as we mentioned, by the appeals court in this case. And Trump really is expressing a lot of confidence in his ability to be able to pay this new lower judgment, and he has 10 days to do it. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, he has confidence that he won the election too, so I mean, I don't really rate his confidence as much as all, show. It's all make-believe. And he, I think, probably believes he's going to get away with everything. I don't think he has the cash, but in my experiences with him, things always work out for him. I can't understand why they gave him an extra 10 days. I can't understand why they cut the amount. So, he'll come up with something else in 10 days and ask for more time or a lower amount still, and who knows what will happen.
Well, we were told by Olivia Rubin that as they were trying to collect these bonds for that much larger amount, nearly $500 million, that they were just being laughed at because the amount was so exorbitant. But again, so do you think that he's not going to show up and foot that bill in 10 days? You think he's going to try to do something else first?
Well, I think that he'll do something. I mean, but I don't think that he'll necessarily come up with the money by then. I don't know. Where's he going to get it? I don't know if he has it. And, people talk about these assets. Oh, he's got this, he's got that. They're laden with debt. So, it's not easy. And, if he tries to sell something now, it's like trying to sell a house that's being foreclosed. He won't get much value for what he's selling. It's a conundrum, but he'll stretch it out if he can.
Well, let me ask you this. There are some real estate developers out there, including the famed Kevin O'Leary among them, who've been really public about the practice of, essentially overvaluing assets, showing them in the brightest light possible to bargain with a bank for a favorable loan. They say it's very common. Does your past experience in this industry suggest otherwise?
Overvaluing is common? Absolutely. Ridiculous, preposterous, impossible valuing? No. That's only Trump, in my experience, yes. And he just keeps on saying it. Like he keeps on saying he has $500 million. And he says he's going to save it for his campaign. He needs it he never put a cent into his campaign. So no, when you take a Trump Tower apartment, you say it's 30,000 square feet or whatever the hell he said, and it was, a third of that. That people don't do that. No, regular developers don't do that.
So essentially you're saying it's just the amount, but that it is essentially common practice. And we know that he spent tens of millions of dollars on his own campaign in the past. Let me ask you about this criminal hush money case. Trump said that he would testify in that trial. Given your experience working with him for some 18 years, he's been involved in many lawsuits and depositions. What would you expect from some kind of testimony from him?
The thought that he might testify is beyond the pale. I can't imagine any lawyer allowing him to do that. He's a loose cannon, and who knows what he'll say. He'll turn it into a campaign speech like he did with the fraud trial. He won't discuss the matter at hand. He'll talk about other things and other people and Biden, and that's what I think.
Well, we shall see if he takes that stand. Barbara, yes, Russ, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your time. I want to bring our big story to our panel now. So joining us today is our ABC News contributor and SiriusXM radio host Mike Muse, former Republican congressman from New York, John Katko, ABC News contributor and former official in the 2016 Clinton presidential campaign, Amanda Renteria, and ABC News legal contributor and trial attorney, Brian Buckmeyer. Brian, let's start here with you. A couple of things. What do you anticipate here if and when Donald Trump does take the stand, as she mentioned? What if he doesn't answer pointed question and sort of rails off about other things? I just don't anticipate that happening there in the court of law if he's on the stand.
Well, it's going to be similar to what we saw in the civil cases where the judge or whoever is questioning him will have to try to realign him back to the facts of the case, saying that that's not relevant, Mr. President or Mr. Trump. You've got to stay on task and you got to stay to this answer that you're being asked about. But as we've seen in the past, Donald Trump's going to do what Donald Trump does, and he's going to answer in the way that he feels is best for him, because he's treating it, as I see it, the court as both a campaigning opportunity as well as trying to push back on the narrative that this is a legitimate prosecution.
And Brian, just quickly, if I can, what do you anticipate here, the struggles in finding a jury here and seating a jury for that case?
So when it comes to finding a jury, oftentimes I say that both sides are left without really being happy, because you're not going to find the people who are diehard Trump fans who are going to say, we believe everything he says, and you're not going to find the people that say, we hate Donald Trump and everything that he says and does. You're going to get left with someone in the middle, but because of the polarization of how we have this country now, those people in the middle are so few and far between that it's become that much more difficult to find them. And so you're going to find someone who's going to be unfazed and unbiased of what they've already heard about in this case, and they're going to look at it with fresh eyes.
And actually, John, I'd love to hear your response to that, and generally how you feel that this is a perceived win, at least for the Trump team, that this bond amount has been dramatically lowered.
Yeah, it's a perceived win, but I wouldn't be so excited if I was Trump. And if the Court of Appeals had a concern about the case itself and the merits of the case, they would have basically said no bond is needed, because they're going to overturn it. But they just lowered the amount, and they may be signaling that, you know, he's guilty of the case, but they're going to lower the amount of the fine that he pays. So I wouldn't be too excited by this. It's still $175 million. That's a pretty big nut, and it's not a good signal from the court as far as I can see.
And Amanda, to you, in the criminal hush money case, Trump and his team repeatedly have said that having this trial begin in April is unfair to do that before the election. Do you agree?
I don't. I mean, a lot of these cases have been waiting their time. They're going on they're going on trial as they should. And listen, we know what Trump is going to do with this moment. He's going to use it as a platform anyway. And so I don't think we would have much of a difference whether he was in court or whether he was talking to the media. He's going to use this platform, and we should have him follow any other person's process through this trial.
Right. I mean, in many cases, he shows up when he doesn't have to in the courtroom. In this case, of course, he will have to be there. Mike, it's no surprise that Donald Trump is, as she mentioned as well, fundraising off of his legal troubles. He's leading in the latest 538 polls that we have. And he's also said that he thought it might even make him more popular if he's convicted in this criminal case, Mike.
Yeah, from a political strategy perspective, it's very strategically sound of him to do that. What the data has shown based upon the polls, particularly in the early part of the primaries, his polling numbers went up after each indictment that he received. Another thing about this is when he looked at his primary base in the primary, a lot of individuals are feeling sympathetic towards him. A lot of these individuals feel like, you know, this is a political job that the Democrats are doing against him. So from that perspective, is working in his favor from a primary perspective. Now, once he gets to general election, that is going to be a different narrative, because that's going to come down to the independent voters within the key battleground states. And I believe that the independent voters won't see it so much as a political job against him as much as the needed criminal proceedings to go forward to determine his guilt or innocence. They will look at it from a different lens. So eventually he's going to have to attack in order to get into the general election win with independents.
All right, Mike, John, Amanda, and Brian, our thanks to all of you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.